Good evening, friends. It is rather an odd happening that I find myself this evening speaking to an invisible audience, yet my voice can reach so far as to your own living rooms, in your cozy homes. And so I think that more than just a lecture, take it as a sharing of something that is dear to me, something that concerns me, and something that we both, all of us, share, this topic of karma. We happen to be celebrating this year the 145th anniversary of the Theosophical Society. And before I begin my lecture, I would like us to have a few moments of silence. And I would like to share with you this invocation that I usually do at this time of the year when I give my lectures, in honor to those who found the Theosophical Society and those who continue to carry the mission of this organization. There is a blessedness and a power beyond oneself, which comes to the aid of those who are prepared to receive. Let us turn to those great sources from whom strength and inspiration flow unfailingly, to all who, forgetful of self, are intent to learn and to share without reservation. May those who are the embodiment of love immortal bless with their help and guidance this society, founded to be a channel for their work. May they inspire it with their wisdom, strengthen it with their power, and energize it with their activity. This evening, I would like to share with you some insightful perspective into the manifold manifestations of karma and the educational role it plays in our lives. I would also like to point out some means, so to speak, or ways to which our inner journey can enrich in the light of these perennial teachings for a higher life, guided by truth, inner strength, and wisdom. The original title of this lecture was intended to be the workings of karma in the light of the disciple. And so we abridged it just to be a little bit more appealing to our times. But I think that down in my heart, I want to speak to you tonight to that title itself. Because our times are calling for discipleship. And by discipleship, I don't mean just following blindly the teachings of a particular guru. I will explain myself further what I mean by that. So what is karma? As many have explained for many, many generations, this teachings of karma is pretty mainstream by now. The word is a Sanskrit word, as you all know, and it literally means action, work or deed. But from an occult point of view, it refers to a universal principle or law. In the Key to Theosophy, Madame Blavatsky gives a most sweeping definition of karma. We consider it as the ultimate law of the universe, the source, origin, and fount of all other laws which exist throughout nature. Karma is the unerring law which adjusts effect to cause on the physical, mental, and spiritual planes of being. As no cause remains without its due effect, from greatest to least, from a cosmic disturbance down to the movement of your hand, and as like produces like, karma is that unseen and unknown law which adjusts wisely, intelligently, and equitably each effect to its cause, tracing the latter back to its producer. Though itself unknowable, its action is perceivable. Karma is absolute harmony in the world of matter as it is in the world of spirit. Profound statement. So we can look at these teachings of karma a little bit deeper and perhaps a little bit more technical in order to understand the inner workings of this law. It is my purpose tonight not to talk about this law at a more cosmic level. You know, we know very well that we have personal karma, we have the karma of our family, we have the karma of our city, of our state, our nation, our planet, and so forth. But our times call to understand this law at a deeper level, at the individual level, for we have awakened as humanity to a higher degree of spirituality. It has been inevitable, and hopefully these teachings tonight inspire us a little further to be more courageous and to trust ourselves to life, no matter what happened in the outer circumstances. There are 3 types of karma, according to the Hindu and Theosophical philosophies. And these operate in every life, not just at the human level. It is, a universal perspective, but it primarily reflects in the human being because this is when it reveals itself in action. So first of all, we have what we call unripe karma, or sanchita karma, and that is the sum of all our past karmas and actions, good or bad, from all our previous incarnations carried into the next lifetime. It is said that when we depart, when we cross the threshold of death, all our human experiences for this particular lifetime is accumulated and stored in our causal body. And so all these experiences, whether good or bad, the soul takes it in and assimilates them, and in the next lifetime brings fruits. We ripen those experiences into our next lifetime, and they are the seeds of our deeds and our destiny for the next lifetime. So this sanchita karma, in a way, informs the karma of the present moment, that what we call ripe karma or prarabdha karma, and is that portion of sanchita karma or unripe karma that is ready for fruition, which influences human life in the present incarnation. It cannot be avoided nor changed, and it can only be exhausted by being experienced. Lastly, we have the present karma, or kriyamana karma, and it's the karma that we are creating in the present moment, every hour and every moment of our day. And it is in this present moment when we can access the free will that shapes our future destiny. There is yet another twofold subdivision of karma. We have shakam karma, or selfish karma, or self-centered action. And this is the result of all our attachments and actions done expecting a result. This self-centeredness is the cause of our suffering and, literally speaking, our true hell here on earth. Nishkam karma, selfless karma, or desireless action, is an action performed for the sake of the right without any expectation of its fruits or results. An action divinely inspired, love-inspired. This is the central tenet of the Karma Yoga path of liberation, the path of purification, of selfless service, the way to heaven and true spirituality. In order to understand these teachings at a more personal level, at a more individual level, and take them as guidelines and something that will reveal rather something positive in our lives, and that we can do something with our lives that is impactful and transformative for the world, we need to also understand some key points about karma that puts them at a very impersonal level. And this is why people get very confused about these teachings, because they take it very personal, and then they lose perspective of the greater whole of life in which our personal life takes place or part. The first key point to understand is that karma is absolutely impersonal. It is neither good nor bad. The result of our actions depends solely on the quality of our intentions. It is said that our actions begin in our thoughts, not necessarily in our words or feelings, but it begins in the inner workings of our minds, and later become concrete actions and deeds. The second point to take into consideration is that karma is not a single force or energy, a complete destiny, which we can understand as something that comes to us all at once and can be very overwhelming, although at times we feel it is as such. So we are born this is not something that we are born with all at the same time. So only a portion of this karma, a very small percent of this totality of our karma, is brought down into our current incarnation. And this is particularly interesting because we think that the load of our past dues is real in our back there when we are born. But no, it doesn't happen that way, at least to my understanding. Most of our present karma is created in this lifetime itself. And this we can more easily manage and alter when approached with the right mental and emotional attitude. This particular point touches me deeply because as a teacher, especially an early childhood teacher, I have to deal with this my daily life, dealing with these little souls, not little souls, but little children with big souls who know who they are, where they come from. And what I have realized throughout the years of research and observation, especially observing children, is that most of the karma that we have as adults, and most of the impressions and the challenges and the conditionings that we have as adults are formed in the period from birth to the age of 7. Sometimes it's from conception to the age of 7. That is a very profound formative period for the soul in which we learn all sorts of capacities. Not only at the physical level we develop, but we develop also emotionally and we develop mentally. Is the foundation, so to speak, the scaffolding of what we are to become in our future. Most of, I would say, emotional challenges that we have at the feeling level, at our feeling life, form themselves at that very early age. And it's very difficult to uncondition later on when we are adults, because they are deep down rooted at these very early stages of our lives. And we have no time to look back and say, oh, but this happened to me when I was little. This is how I was brought into a family like this or like that. This was the mental and feeling atmosphere that surrounded me. And this is how I learned how to feel. Feelings are something that we learn, not so much thinking, which is something of the past. We come with the characterological predispositions of thinking already, but the willing and the feeling is something that we also come to train in this lifetime, most importantly our will. But the feeling is something that also shapes and evolves and transforms throughout our lives, and is probably one of the most delicate membranes around the child to protect and to cultivate in the right way by pure examples. Good role models at the feeling life, how to handle our emotions, how we react and respond to our, my goodness, to everything in life, really. Anything that comes our way, the situations, the challenges, the experiences, our encounters, the children are absorbing everything. But we adults also learn from that perspective. We are observing people, and we can learn what is right and what is wrong just by discriminating, by discerning what we see through our eyes, what we listen, and what we feel. So the third key point is yet more interesting, and it is said that experiences will present to us only when our soul is mature enough to learn from them. The heavier the karma, the greater the strength, wisdom, and responsibility of soul required to lift it. Whether good or bad, painful or pleasurable, they are all experiences for the soul to gain wisdom. This is a way we theosophists, or students of theosophy, should consider our lives if we want to understand spiritual matters. The moment we turn our thoughts to the workings of the Spirit through the lens of this cosmic law, our attitude towards life begins to change. These are the preliminary steps in the path of discipleship. We have heard that word many times. But who is a disciple? What do we mean by discipleship, theosophical speaking? Is it something for everybody, or is it just for those chosen ones, privileged among those humans that are treading the path of life, holding hands or far apart? The word discipline means to learn, and disciple means he who learns, who is constantly learning, no he who or she, because disciples can be male or female alike, or neutral. The human soul is genderless, and it is meant to reach its destination no matter what sort of body is incarnated into. We are all divine. So I say that, and I really mean it. So it's not just for specific people chosen, and those who are conformed, and those who obey a particular guru or a particular sets of teachings. You know, the Old English word of discipleship comes from the Latin discipulus, which means learner. And the origin of this word is truly learning, inner education. So, I mean, that is something for us to think about, because it really touches everyone. It doesn't exclude any single human being. So the way of discipleship, as we understand, according to Theosophy, has been beautifully pointed out by one of the masters in the teachings given in Light on the Path, that special book, very dear to many students of the Divine Wisdom. I am quoting from that book itself. "Seek out the way, not by any one road. To each temperament there is one road which seems the most desirable, but the way is not found by devotion alone, by religious contemplation alone, by ardent progress, by self-sacrificing labor, by studious observation of life. None alone can take the disciple more than one step onward. All steps are necessary to make up the ladder. The vices of men become steps in the ladder, one by one, as they are surmounted. The virtues of men are steps indeed, necessary, not by any means to be dispensed with. Yet, though they create a fair atmosphere and a happy future, they are useless if they stand alone. The whole nature of men must be used wisely by the one who desires to enter the way. Each man is to himself absolutely the way, the truth, and the life." If I understand these teachings correctly, even though this book has been written for those aspirants, it touches the heart of every human being. Therefore, whether we understand them today or not, are given for the whole of humanity when it is our time to receive them. The way which is truth, wisdom, love, compassion, and understanding. The way is that of everlasting peace. We also have to take into consideration that our thoughts and feelings are powerful energies that can produce effect into two different directions, upwards or downwards. Upwards on their own plane, affecting the thoughts and feelings of others. Downwards, through our brains, creating a psychophysiological pattern that ultimately reflects in our behaviors, action, even our physical health. And this is something that we see currently in our world today. What is currently happening is nothing but the result of something that we have created inwardly at the level of our thoughts that we cannot comprehend perhaps today, but at some point we will realize that we are all responsible for what is currently happening in the world. We take part at a lesser or a greater extent in what is happening, and for that we all have to take responsibility. The principle of karma affirms that when we create a thought emotion, for they are almost inseparable, it takes on a form in the invisible world and becomes an entity on the mental, emotional plane, kama manas as we know it to be in the Theosophical teachings. And that entity will endure in accordance with the energy that we direct towards it. So this you can translate into what is happening today at all the levels, not just at the illness level, but all the disturbances that are happening in the world. How much are we feeding these circumstances with our thoughts? What kind of thoughts are we projecting into the world? Our thoughts to uplift humanity, to lift a little of this heavy karma, or our thoughts to contribute to the fear, to the terror, to the separateness of one another. This state of mind obviously creates a great disequilibrium and will have to be neutralized at some point in the future. And we can only reap this karma when a harmonizing force and process begins to operate consciously in our minds. So, what do we mean by harmonizing force or harmonizing process within ourselves? How do we begin that process? Is it something that we can all do on our own without any guidance? Or is it something that we have to go miles away to learn and pay thousands of dollars to be trained in a particular way of thinking, or to follow a particular path and become another one of the trodden path of the past, which will never solve the problems of the future nor the present moment? The spirituality that we need, even though it's rooted in the same universal perennial laws, have to be a spirituality that speaks to us in the present, new to the future, something fresh, alive, that we breathe and experience and that we live with our own selves. No, nothing that someone has written on paper. So-and-so has said this. So-and-so experienced that. Hence, I will sit down and try to think alike. I will go to this place and try to experience the same thing that so-and-so have experienced. You may say that all the teachings that I am sharing with you tonight are also theoretical and that someone has read or put on paper. But it seems to me that what I'm sharing with you is quite universal, and yes, technical. However, it is something that has never changed. Well, as much as I am aware, since I became familiar with these teachings, this has been my understanding, and I have only deepening this understanding. And every day I look at it, every day I reflect on the teachings of karma. They seem to me truer, and more true to myself and to the way I want to live my life. So I would like to share with you as well some inner tools, some means by which we can access, or we can, something that lives within ourselves that we can access, that can benefit and that can neutralize these past conditionings that we've had, that we've brought into this present moment. Some of you may be practicing these things already. Some of you may be considering to engage in some of these ways of living. But I will share what I have been able to experience on my own. Not that I have mastered any of these by any means, but things that help me to go through my daily life with a little bit more of equanimity and serenity. So the first thing that I would like to suggest is that we cultivate awareness. Awareness at all times and at all levels of our being. Awareness is a holistic dimension of our perception. It opens our eyes, minds, and hearts, and purified our actions. If we observe our lives, we very quickly realize that we are so easily distracted. And we pay attention to those things that are our priority or our first things in our list, or things that, that like us and that we feel more attraction to, but completely neglect all the things that are in the background that could be equally necessary or equally our responsibility, yet we totally neglected and overlooked them. But these teachings of karma also point out that we have to pay attention to these very small deeds and very small things that happen in our daily life. There is also wisdom hidden in them. So it's not just whatever is within the realm of our interest, but outside of our interest, what is happening in the periphery, what is happening behind us, metaphorically speaking, of course, and, concretely speaking also. So these teachings of karma suggest that every action should be performed skillfully, lovingly, and selflessly. And by right action, I mean to say right thought, right feeling, right speech, and right living, right livelihood. Awareness allows us to do our best in all life circumstances without exception. Not that we become mechanical, and not that we become, blindfolded and we walk, very cold-minded, very cold-hearted and warm-minded, all in the head. Not necessarily. When we are also feeling from the heart, we become more open and sensitive what is happening, again, at all levels of our being and our surroundings. The second inner tool, if I may call it that way, has to do with manage our stress. And that's something that I can speak for myself very personally. And, it seems like stress has become a common global, another pandemic, if you will, of our times, along with whatever is happening. And before what is happening is being alongside with us for a long time. I think it comes with the fact of having a mind. It comes with it. It's one of the attributes of the mind that we have to discard and learn how to use it in different ways. But when properly understood, and managed, stress can become the inner force that propels us to act and change for the better. It's almost like a force that is building and boiling and purifying us if we take it in a positive way. Some of us get stressed out because we don't want to see the reality, or there is so much coming our way and we get so blocked and so frustrated. But sometimes we are stressed because we know that change is coming. We know that something unknown and something greater and better is coming, yet we don't want to take that step forward. And that creates a great stress and friction for the soul, and that is the stress that I am particularly talking about. We shouldn't be afraid of this unknown future, because that is what brings true transformation, and that is what brings true change. Stepping into that better unknown, anything that we step into that we know, so to speak, that is not really real transformation for ourselves, because then we are copying somebody, then we are stepping on somebody else's footsteps. So what we call transformation for ourselves, even though we have some guidelines written down and we know that we need to aspire to some ideals, that which transforms within ourselves and what we ought to become is uniquely beautiful and original to our own selves. And so that change is change into the unknown. And that is the wonders that we should leave open to the magic of life that will happen to all of us, and have the courage to go through them. So stress in a way triggers that moment of transformation. It propels us into that something needs to be changed. So detachment, of course, is one of those keys and one of those tools. And, let's don't take others' negative emotions and criticism personally. It's so easy to do that. But we really have to pay attention not to take it personally more than we should. Detachment practiced in this way builds our immune system against those negative mental and emotional energies and entities. Gratitude is one of the most important ones. Our life can take the most uplifting turn and bring wonderful gifts and experiences our way when we practice genuine gratitude. No matter how hard or heavy the karma may feel upon our shoulders, be thankful that it is not worse and that all evil is transitory. Gratitude is a change of attitude that leads to peace and unconditional love. Meditation, as well, brings us into a relationship with that sacred space of silence within ourselves. It is one of the most powerful and essential tools, of course, by which our ordinarily disturbed and overstimulated daily consciousness is brought into focus, into a state of stillness. How much we need that nowadays. Meditation purifies and opens the mind to receive truth and to the experience of oneness. Lastly, and the outcome and all these previous means or tools, cultivation of serenity is the outcome. We should pray for peace. We should pray for understanding. We should pray for serenity in our hearts. There is a prayer or an invocation known to many theosophists and people of the liberal Catholic Church that begins like this: there is a peace that passeth understanding. It abides in the heart of those who live in the eternal. There is a power that maketh all things new. It abides in the hearts of those who live in the eternal. It continues, but that is a part of this invocation, and it is most precious and profound. There is another little quote from Light on the Path, that very special, precious book. In the same token, the Master says, "Live neither in the present nor the future, but in the eternal. This giant wheat cannot flower there, the giant wheat of selfishness or separateness. This blot upon existence is wiped out by the very atmosphere of eternal thought." It is very difficult to cultivate serenity when we have not imbued ourselves with the mystical conditions that it requires. It is challenging. It is not something that lasts for a long time. It comes and goes. But the serenity of God is found and only found in divine unity. In the understanding of that divine unity and how it works its way down to the understanding of the human being. It is rooted in the knowledge of the laws of nature, especially in the law of karma, that teaches us that anything that happens, as Blavatsky said, at the physical level, affects every other level, not only of our beings, but of the whole of life. But we lack the vision and the understanding to realize that. But what if we gain that understanding? What if we gain the eyes and the heart to perceive it? And that divine unity is what we call eternity. So this is the reason why, my dear friends, the teachings of Theosophy have always encouraged every student to have a solid grasp on the workings of this fundamental law of karma before advancing any further into the path of self-realization and liberation. For it is the kind of spiritual knowledge that gives meaning and purpose to our own human experience and existence as well, and awakens our inner eyes and hearts to wisdom. We cannot escape from our conditionings of the past, but we can certainly access our free will to change this very moment and become the masters of our glorious future. We Theosophists must trust ourselves to life, no matter what the outer circumstances of the world bring our way. So have courage for the truth and sharpen your feeling for responsibility to the whole of humanity. And I hope that tonight we have become a little bit more sensible and sensitive to these teachings and what we do with them. This is something that needs to be lived. And as we live it, we will become more serene and our understanding will grow. Thank you, dear ones. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your evening. I wish you a wonderful Thanksgiving. I'm sure that all of you have a lot of things to be grateful for. My gratitude extends to all the people who are keeping the Theosophical Society in America not only alive, but awake, and that have these programs accessible to all of you so that you can share with us, even from far away, and keep carrying the mission of this wonderful organization worldwide. Thank you.